If this story was only about someone who was too fat to actually perform the act of indecent exposure, it would be absurd enough, but this story is about a trans woman
and her penis.
Viva Frei, former Montreal litigator turned rumbler, and I've got to tell you, every now and again you read a headline and you ask yourself, is this real life?
Is this real life?
Yeah, this is real life.
From the Daily Mail, trans woman is cleared of flashing her penis at Ohio YMCA after judge ruled she's too fat for her genitals to be visible. By Emma James for dailymail.com, 1913-06 May 2023. Updated 2258-06 May 2023. Now, I don't know what was updated in this article, but it certainly wasn't the fact that, quote, her penis is both biologically and linguistically impossible. At least it was up until the present date. When I first saw this article, I thought it was just a story about an individual who was too fat to actually expose his penis and that he actually raised the defense. No, it couldn't be obscene exposure because I couldn't actually cause my penis to be exposed because the fat from my belly would not allow my penis to be so exposed for the purposes of indecent exposure.
No.
This is the story of a trans person who actually raised this as a defense, and a coward judge who actually went with this defense, presumably because the judge did not want to face the backlash of actually sanctioning someone for indecent exposure because despite being trans, whatever they think that means, you don't go into a girl's washroom and flash your penis. No. And a media afterwards that actually refers to it as
her penis.
Her penis. Monty Python could not make a skit about this anymore. There is no possibility for satire because reality has not just met satire, it has surpassed satire. Darren Glines, who now goes by Rachel, was found not guilty of 3 counts of indecent exposure. The 31-year-old's lawyers claimed that her gut was too large for her penis to be exposed. A judge ruled that a transgender woman could not have indecently exposed her penis in a YMCA female changing room after agreeing with her claim that she's too fat for it to be visible. Darren Glines, who now goes by Rachel, was found not guilty of 3 counts of indecent exposure at the facility in Xenia, Ohio. One of the complaints stated that there were 3 juveniles present during the incident, with a woman going to the front desk to report the issue. But she was reassured by a worker that it was, quote, actually a woman, end quote, and that she, quote, shouldn't have been disturbed, end quote, but the incident. That's right, people. This is the world in which we live. There were actually, according to the complaint, 3 juvenile girls in a locker room when they were exposed to the genitals of a man who says, don't worry about it, I'm trans. And the YMCA actually said, there's a trans person in the locker room, that shouldn't disturb you. What more can you say? 3 young girls in a girl's locker room, and they shouldn't be disturbed because there's a man in there, but the man says that the man's a woman, and you have to refer to the man as having her penis. Yeah, no, it all makes total sense. And if you have any problem with this, you're the bigot. Judge David McNamee said that there was, quote, little dispute as to the facts of the case, end quote, as Glines was authorized by the executive director of the YMC to use the women's locker room. Jacqueline Brockman said that Glines was allowed to use the facilities at all of the greater Dayton area YMCA locations. The case was legally brought against Darren Glines, but she now goes by the first name of Rachel and has not had gender reassignment surgery. So you have a male in the girls' locker room, apparently in front of juveniles, exposing his penis to the people in that locker room, and you have a judge who actually bought the defense that Glines was too fat for his genitals to be seen, such that it wasn't indecent exposure because despite doing everything that is alleged, because the facts are not in dispute, his belly would not be one that would allow his penis to be visible to the juveniles who were in that locker room. Quote, quite simply, the facts do not exist to support a find of guilt as charges. Glines' genitalia was not visible as a result of other portions of her body covering same, end quote. Who wrote this? Now, I am definitely not one to pick on typos for reasons that should be obvious to anybody who follows me on Twitter, and I was going to ignore the first typo, which was but instead of by. But this sentence has so many typos in this, I am now actually asking myself, who wrote this darn article? Xenia City Council President Williams Urschel said that one of the women who filed a complaint was allegedly informed by an employee at the YMCA that Glines identifies as a woman, so she, quote, shouldn't be disturbed by this, end quote. Urschel recounted the story at a Greene County Tea Party meeting with attendees audibly laughing. And if you think that I'm overreacting, that this is all fine and dandy, and that it's okay to live in a world of her penises and his vaginas, and Glines is just an innocent, well-meaning person who thinks of himself as a woman, wait until you read a little bit more about Glines. A YMCA employee was called to testify at the trial, telling the court that she had to get a restraining order against Glines after she assaulted her. And this is what happens after you absolutely bastardize the English language. I'm not even sure what's being written here. After she assaulted her, I think they mean after Glines assaulted the witness, who is a woman.
Katisha Young told Redux that Glines grabbed her genitals after they had gone out to coffee. Young claims that following the assault, Glines started attending her place of work, knowing when she would be working. She added that she is concerned that she will be forced to find other work once her protection order against Glines runs out in 2024.
Don't be intolerant, people. There's someone with a penis in the girls' locker room in front of juveniles, but they're not able to expose themselves because they're too fat that their belly hangs over their penis. Don't be a bigot, because if you complain about it, you will be the one to suffer sanctions. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic and exaggerating, wait until you get to this part of the article.
Julie Jaman, 80, was banned from a YMCA pool after she demanded a transgender employee leave the women's locker room. She had been a regular at the Mountain View pool in the city of Port Townsend in Washington when she spotted the worker in the changing room while she was showering. Jaman claims that while she was changing, she heard a, quote, man's voice, end quote, and immediately confronted the worker, Clementine Adams, who identifies as a woman. She said that she asked Adams if she had a penis, and she said it was, quote, none of her business, end quote, so she asked them to leave.
And here, yet again, because we have absolutely bastardized the English language, the journalist is not even saying that she asked her to leave, because I presume in this case, the transgender individual Clementine goes by they, them pronouns and not she, her pronouns, so they asked them to leave the This is what happens when words stop having meanings, when language ceases being language, and you basically fall into a Roman decline of an empire.
Jaman told a member of staff at the pool was told by YMCA Aquatics manager Rowan DeLuna that she was, quote, discriminating, end quote, and that the police would be called, end quote. She was told that she was, quote, banned from the pool forever, end quote, before DeLuna called law enforcement, where Jaman was described as having, unquote, emotional response, end quote, and, quote, screaming, end quote, in an incident report.
I read this article multiple times, and given the typos in it and the subject matter, I genuinely thought and want to believe that it's parody, but it's not parody. We actually live in a world where reality has surpassed the absurdity of parody. And again, full disclaimer, I'll say what I've said on my channel multiple times. I have nothing against what a grown adult wants to do with his or her own body. That is up to them. More freedom to you, more power to you. But when you start saying that young girls are compelled to look at the naked body of a man in the girls' locker room because that man identifies as a woman, and I'm supposed to use the terms her penis, not in this lifetime. And I think that we are rapidly approaching the point where even the most patient of patient, the most tolerant of tolerant people who genuinely have no interest in what other adults decide to do with their body are getting to the point where saying, no, this is a step too far, and if you're going to start filing incident reports on me because I don't want to be an 80-year-old woman in the locker room with a man, I think a lot of people who are otherwise tolerant and well-meaning are just going to say enough is enough already. Or who knows, we'll end up living in a world of her penises, his vaginas, women with testicular cancer, because sex is a social construct and this is progress. And with that said, if you like my videos, you like my content, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, yada yada. You know what to do. If you want to get some merch, you can go to vivafrei.com. If you want to support Robert Barnes and myself, you can go to vivabarneslaw.locals.com. But more important than anything, take care of yourselves, check in on friends and family, make sure everyone around you is doing well, and now you know your vlog. Peace out.